Lecture 12. The removal of the totality of symptoms means the removal of the cause.
Organ on aphorism 17. Now, as in the cure effected by the removal of the whole of the perceptible signs and symptoms of disease, the internal alteration of the vital force to which the disease is due, consequently the whole of the disease is at the same time removed. It follows that the physician has only to remove the whole of the symptoms in order, at the same time to abrogate and annihilate the internal change, that is to say, the morbid derangement of the vital force. Consequently, the totality of the disease itself, but when the disease is annihilated, the health is restored. And this is the highest, the sole aim of the physician, who knows the true object of his mission, which consists not in learned sounding prating, but in giving aid to the sick. So what he explains here is the duty, the mission, the duty of the physician is to restore the sick to health. It was first explained in the first aphorism itself by Hahnemann. In the same way he is explaining, which consists not in the learned sounding prating, but in giving aid to the sick. How? That also he explained. By understanding, by knowing, by observing the totality of the symptoms, when we prescribe the remedy, automatically when the totality is removed means health has restored. We need not drive out the disease. In such a way, at present most of us will be thinking to drive out the disease, then the health can be restored. Not like that. When the totality of the symptoms is cured means health is restored. The idea of this paragraph is that the removal of the totality of the symptoms is actually the removal of the cause. It may not be known that causes are continued into effects, that causes continue in ultimates. But it is true that all ultimates to a great extent continue the cause of the beginnings. And since cause continues into ultimates and things in ultimates shadow forth cause, the removal of the symptoms will lead any rational man to assume that the cause has been removed. Automatically, when the cause is removed, means the health is restored. When the totality of the symptoms is removed, means the cause is also removed. This will lead you to see that if a large number of symptoms manifest themselves through a diseased ovary, and that ovary is removed, the cause of the symptoms has not been removed and will manifest through some other part of the body, perhaps the other ovary or some other organ that is weak. So when a tissue or an organ of the body is affected by a disease, simply by removing that part is not in the process of cure. We have to think why this organ has got affected. What is the cause? The cause is only vital and mental. When there is a disease on the mental and vital plane, then only the organs will be affected and the tissues will be affected. That is only the ultimate. When we remove one part, there is every possibility that the other part can be affected with the same disease, or any other organ or tissue which is weak in the body, that can be affected. That he is explaining. Master E.K. has explained about the amputation also in this same way. In diabetic gangrene, generally the gangrenous part will be amputated, will be removed. For example, if a person has got a gangrene on the toe, what the advice is the toe should be removed, or the foot should be removed, 1/3 of the foot should be removed. So this is not the solution. When that part is removed, definitely again the other part will be gangrenous. So when it is amputated at the ankle joint, the upper part will gets affected. Like this, when the leg is amputated up to knee joint, the other upper part will be affected, or the second leg gets affected. So what is the understanding problem? How it is understood means the removed part, the diseased part is to be removed. That is cure. That is not the process. Internally, it should be cured. The cause which is creating all this nuisance, that should be cured. When once that is cured means, when it is inevitable even at that time to amputate the affected part, then if we advise to amputate that only that toe, great toe for example, then the other parts will not be affected. So what happened? The internal disease which is creating all this nuisance, that has been cured, that has been removed vitally. So there is no other weakness in any part or tissues of the body. Now normally when the cure is in this direction, already the affected part, the gangrenous part also gets repaired with medicines. There may be a surprise for some of the doctors. How can it be transformed into normalcy? But we have cured many cases of gangrenous parts. Even when there are worms in that gangrenous part, without putting a knife also, with the aid of the medicines, all the worms came out and that part is completely healed. We have seen in many cases. And later they are completely healthy. So how is it possible? Only when we treat the patient with the constitutional treatment. That is basing upon the totality of the symptoms. When we treat the patient, then only it is possible. So here he is explaining the same thing. When one part that got affected, when it should be it is removed, that is not the solution. The other part gets affected. It is a serious matter to remove any organ through which disease is manifested. When there are two or more of these pathological conditions established upon the body and one is removed, the other immediately becomes one. So when we allow the disease to continue in that affected part, the other parts will not be affected for many years also. The same thing we have observed in one case. One diabetic patient, he came to Master E.K. with a big gangrene to left great toe. So the doctors advised it for amputation, but he was not willing. He came to Master E.K. Then he treated. He was completely normal, but the ulcer was continuing in the same way. There was oozing, everything, but the weakness was cured. Sugar has come down, and that person was able to continue his business. He was a businessman. But when everything was normal, when any medicine was given to cure the ulcer, again the general condition got worsened. So again when the medicine was given to improve the general condition, the ulcer got worsened. So then you have to live with this ulcer for some more years. Don't try to apply anything externally, or don't try to treat it. But the allopath comes along and closes the and in the doctrines, talk good English if you are English, and use simple forms of speech. One simple will sometimes mean a whole sentence and can be consistent to mean many different things. Technicalities are a sort of scapegoat to carry off the sins of our ignorance. The removal of the totality of symptoms means the removal of the cause. That chapter we will go through. The totality of the symptoms means a good deal. It is a wonderfully broad thing. It may be considered to be all that is essential of the disease. It is all that is visible and represents the disease in the natural world to the eye, the touch and external understanding of man. It is all that enables the physician to individualize between diseases and between remedies. The entire representation of a disease is the totality of the symptoms, and the entire representation of a drug is the totality of the symptoms. So once again he is explaining about totality of symptoms. Some people, they will understand totality means total symptoms, not total symptoms. That was explained previously. Total, all the bundle of symptoms, that is not total symptoms, is not totality symptoms. Totality is different from total. Sometimes a hypochondriac patient, he can give all the symptoms more pages. For example, old friends and know them by even a partial view or voice is not so strange. Strangers have to be studied, criticized, examined. To know the stranger's method to perform his business, whether it is or not, to know character, to know the man, that we should be able to know. In the first question or third, we are not able to. For example, recently I have seen a patient. He is a very wonderful person. He is working sincerely in an organization. Apparently, he looks very sincere and very punctual, very accommodating in his work, everything. But slowly, according to their family members, I could know that upon the family members, he is not having good opinion, and also they are very much suffering in his presence. Very horrible mental condition. But how can we judge? How can we prescribe the remedy? In first state, we can know very orderly punctuality, his way of behaving when he comes to our clinic, everything will be there. So by prescribing arsenic hormone, he doesn't get any improvement. But after knowing the background thing, if we prescribe basing upon that, he gets improvement in the complaints which he gets. The symptoms to get extent, very sickness in a new sickness. Sickness is a new sickness. When we have to know, to case considered as an one case in he was looking like as an innocent. Our brother nobody knows what is actually internal. He is a little bit careless in his office. He was not having good. So he was coming for indigestion problem. So medicines were given. He was not getting any improvement. He was saying, no, I'm not. So he could in the family members. He goes to the office. Even from the office, he goes to the club. He spends all the salary in the club. He was not giving anything in the house. He was not looking at and suffering. Wife has to take him to the doctor. He was not. Moment it was happening like she could bring up the children it's only with the help of her brother. But he was very non-cooperative and he was not at all having any affection upon wife and children. These are more important. Based on this of the was also attending the homeo classes. So with the knowledge of the patient, brother had administered Sepia 50m 1 dose to that officer. So after 6 months, the change happened. There was no change from that. 5 to 6 months, slowly the change has started. After 8 months, there was a very big change. Wife has come and she was very happy that now he is stopped going to the club and he was coming to the park and whenever the children were sick, he was taking them to the doctor. Slowly, after 1 year, he was a new person of the family. His indigestion was also previously was with lycopodium because he was apparently appearing that he was innocent and he was not able to grasp anything. He appeared that he is conscious, but he was very alert in his own world. So in that way, when the first step itself, we cannot know the totality. If the patient has nothing to conceal, he will delineate his symptoms cheerfully. But if he has something to conceal, it becomes a hard matter to obtain the totality of symptoms. But if the patient he understands and cooperates and also he explains everything about him and thinking that the doctor will help, no problem. But when the patient hides, that will be the problem. Recently, yesterday, I came to know about one patient. He will be phoning me for every 2 or 3 weeks, and he will be taking medicine. I came to know from his family members, though he was taking much taking much time to explain his symptoms, even in my busy clinic. Yesterday only I came to know that he was not using the medicines which I have prescribed. Sometimes he was not using and sometimes he was using. But again after 1 month he will be telling that medicine you have prescribed that could help to some extent to me. But he did not use that medicine. Yesterday only I came to know through his family member. So like that some people will be there. Definitely. For some people, we have to find out in those miasms, psychotic miasm, it is better to make him wait in our clinic beside us, and then we have to administer the medicine and let him sit wait for another 2 hours, then he can go. Otherwise the medicine will not work. In one student we have administered in the same way. He was having a very horrible mental condition. He was unable to concentrate upon studies, but he was very brilliant in general knowledge, and he was very at the age of 10 years itself he was very brilliant in many things. But he was having some religious mania. He was unable to come out of it. Though we have administered some medicines to him basing upon, because from his childhood we knew about his mentality, his family background, everything we knew. Even though we have administered medicines to him, nothing was happened. After 2 or 2.5 years only we could know that sometimes he was not using. used to take medicine. By going outside, he used to take nut powder. How it works? So once we asked him to come over here, we gave some water. He drank. We observed, and we have confirmed that nothing is there. We asked him to sit beside us. After 1.5 hours, we have administered the medicine, and for another 3 hours, made him wait. Then we allowed him to go out. After that, he got improvement. He was having much fear. If he doesn't listen, we may punish him physically also. That independence we are having for him. Puja, medicine, many psychotic drugs are there. But this totality obtained, for there is no other means of ascertaining the nature of the remedy that is as it is expressed in the 18th paragraph. From this indubitable truth that besides the totality of the symptoms, nothing can by means be discovered in disease, they could express their need of aid. It follows undeniably that the sum of all the symptoms in each individual case of disease must be the sole indication, the sole guide to direct us in the choice of a remedy. But it is not enough to consider the totality as a grand whole. Besides considering all the symptoms collectively, each individual symptom must be considered. Every symptom must be examined to see what relation it sustains to and what position it fills in the totality, in order that we may know its value, whether it is a common symptom, whether it is a peculiar symptom or a particular symptom, or whether a peculiarly characteristic symptom. This we shall consider later in the course. Now, as diseases are nothing more than alterations in the state of health of the healthy individual, which express themselves by morbid signs, and the cure is only possible by a change to the healthy condition of the state of health of the diseased individual, it is very evident that medicines could never cure diseases if they did not possess the power of altering man's state of health, which depends on sensations and functions. Indeed, that their curative power must be owing solely to this power they possess of altering man's state of health. The statement is that medicines must be capable of effecting changes in the economy, or they cannot restore order in the economy. It is very clear. Unless they are able to produce the same symptoms in the healthy persons, they are not at all the medicines that can cure the person. Only the medicines which are able to produce the condition, these symptoms in the healthy persons, when they are similar to the diseased persons, then only they can cure. Otherwise, they will not cure. If the medicine is too high to affect a disturbance in the irregularly governed economy, it will be too high to affect a cure in that economy. The potency must be consistent with the degree of susceptibility that calls for the medicine. So, even though the remedy is indicated, the same remedy is indicated for 2 or 3 people at a time with their totality, we have to select the potency also according to them. For example, one person needs 10,000 potency. The other person who is more sensitive, if we give 10M at once, there may be aggravations. We have to start from 200. Some person may need 1M, 1000 potency. So that should also be considered. This susceptibility includes a wide range of potency, so that from the 30th to the cm there is seldom a miss in actual experience. It is seldom that the potency is too high, but that it is higher than is necessary is often true. No drug can act curatively except by its ability to effect changes, and it is known that drugs do effect changes by their provings, but in the provings the drug has been increased in quantity or reduced in quality in accordance with the judgment of the prover. In provings also he is advising in the same way. Some people they will get good proving with higher potencies. Some people they will get good proving with lower potencies. That also we should judge. Many times the coarser substances affect few changes and sometimes none, whereas the higher substances make sick, that is in accordance with the state of susceptibility. Some provers are susceptible to the higher, who are not at all susceptible to the lower. For example, you take opium constitution, either in proving or in the patient. Basically his constitution is not very sensitive, he is very stubborn, and the reaction also very poor for him, typical opium patient. So in treatment and also in the proving, sometimes they start getting symptoms only after giving higher potency. Suppose if you give only opium 30, because we have started the proving, there won't be any effect. If we give opium 1 mg, then they will start producing the symptoms. In the same way, in treatment also, if we give opium 30, because it is better to start with 30 potency in chronic diseases, we have read. So with opium 30 there won't be any change, even though if we repeat many doses, and also if we wait for 3 or 4 months, it is a waste of time. For him, if we give directly opium 1 mg, then it will work as 30 in other people. So there are some people who are susceptible and who can withstand higher potencies. There are some people who are sensitive to higher potencies. They should be treated only with lower potencies. Whatever the higher, to a single drop of tincture of coffea, but who are extremely susceptible to the higher potencies of coffea. Such patients, however, are often made sick by large doses of coffee. Lycopodium in its crude form has upon most people no effect, and in the higher potencies is capable, if followed up continuously, of affecting almost everyone. For example, if we give Lycopodium 6, nothing will be there. You give Lycopodium 200, there will be good improvement. But in some cases, advanced cases, if we start the treatment with Lycopodium 200, though it is well indicated, and also in chronic cases which are incurable, in those cases, if we start with Lycopodium 200, nothing will happen, no improvement will be there. In those cases, we have to start with Lycopodium 6, daily doses. Then only they will get good improvement. Even though Lycopodium is indicated, we are satisfied and we are extremely happy that we are giving 200, but there won't be any improvement. The effect that medicines have upon the sick in restoring order can best be observed by inducing the effects upon healthy individuals, which we call proving. You might easily suppose, by the way of modern firms, bring their medicines before us, and they have by a great effort to their will and by great meditation thought out what these drugs will do to the human family. For the purpose of ascertaining the state of medicine at the present time, I very often listen to a drummer from some of the New York houses. He will speak his piece, tell what this wonderful combination will do, how many diseases it will cure, and then I ask him how he finds this out. So when people advertise This combination will do wonderful miracles. So and so diseases it will cure. He used to listen very patiently whatever that person, advertising person. Then he used to ask, how can you know? How you are able to know? Oh, the doctors say so. Here are the testimonials. Then the advertising person says, many doctors have said me, so they have given the testimonials. They have given, they are with me. So basing upon this, I can tell you. But how do they find it out? Whoa, they use them. But the drugs have not been proved, and their use is not in accordance with what the homeopath knows. The drugs will produce or cure. If you go into a friendly, drugstore and talk with the druggist, you will find these medicines which have been concocted in the prescriptions of all the fashionable doctors in the neighborhood. In 6 months from that time, if you go to same store, you will not find one of those drugs in use, but a new set following the visit of the traveling man who has come around to represent their wonderful properties. Definitely from the beginning. So the person comes from the factory. He will explain this remedy will work like this, and then the doctors will follow his words. They will prescribe. So for 5 or 6 months, or at least 1 or 2 years, these remedies will work out. After that, these remedies will disappear from the stores and from the doctors. A new set of remedies will be there. Do not think that I refer entirely to the old school, because a large percentage of these prescriptions is from professed homeopaths, and that is much homeopathy as think anything they do. So from many homeopaths also they will prescribe like this. There are some many specific drops, sleep drops, biochemics no problem. Biocombinations and biochemics no problem. No problem. Biocombinations they will do wonders. They are harmless. Biocombinations from 1 to 28 they can be used as it is and they will give results. Not biocombinations. There are some companies they are preparing some specifics. Tonsillide, rheumatoid, like many with the combination of many medicines. Even inimicals also they will prepare. Digestaid, like this. Some numbers will be there. In 30 and 200 potencies they will mix. They will prepare one remedy. They will give typhoid mixture. Like this. So that is very dangerous. The majority of homeopaths do these things, attempting to establish a homeopathic practice upon an allopathic foundation. They try to become fashionable and change their prescriptions as the ladies change their bonnets with the season. Now